Welcome back. It's Jenny here. A couple of interesting things I saw this week. It has really nothing to do with the fights, but it has to do with fighters. A couple interesting interviews, a few interesting interviews actually. One of the first things that I wanted to talk on was I just saw a clip of Francis Ngannou talking about life-changing money, and it reminded me of a point that I wanted to convey a little bit, being someone who's on the other side, inside the industry. I feel like a lot of fans, there's like a big disconnect into what they really think that fighters make, the type of money they think they make. I think they kind of compare them to other professional athletes, and it's, the more we talk about the fighter pay situation, the more it's coming out what they do get paid, which is obviously nothing like other professional athletes outside of the outliers. And Francis was talking about life-changing money, and his whole point was like anything could be life-changing depending on your situation. And it kind of took me back to when my husband made the decision to leave the UFC and went to Bellator, and he got a lot of flack from people about the first thing they say is that he left for easier competition. He can't cut it. And I know that's like online trolls, but I need to really spell it out for some of you people. Like, if you have a job and let's just say you get paid $30,000 a year and you're unhappy with the way you're treated, whatever, you quit your job and you get another job that is offering you $90,000 a year, 3 times as much. What job would you take? That is life-changing money for you, is it not? And you think of fighters like you're totally disconnected from like their financials, and a lot of people talk about legacy, this and that. The reality is that most fighters only have like a 3-year career. Okay, let's say my husband has fought professionally over 10 years now, has been at the highest level over 10 years. So he's already an outlier. He can live off his fight money. He is an outlier. He can live well off his fight money. He is an outlier. The rarity of that, to not only have that length of career, but to be able to make a living that long Dana White is right. It is not a career for most people. It's an opportunity. And while, yes, the UFC provides some cachet, let's say, like say you do become champ, you'll probably have more earning potential, more marketability in a bigger platform, obviously, but the odds of you becoming the champ are very low. Okay, so I think Luke Thomas described it as it's like a smash and grab. Like, as a fighter, you really have to get the money while you can, and it's not only about the money, but you can't say the money doesn't matter, because it does. That we are in prize fighting, and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year make a big difference for someone that is not already a millionaire. That is, I can quit my job as a fighter's wife. We can homeschool our kids. We can pay our bills and be comfortable. That is life-changing money. So next time people want to criticize someone for going to a different promotion, this and that, you would do the same thing. Of course you're going to take the money. You have to go where you can get paid. You are an independent contractor. And not enough fighters have that mindset, and that's a big reason why a lot of fighters sign these long-term contracts and get stuck in them at the UFC. If they advocated for more shorter-term contracts, there might be a little bit more competition. I know it's very hard to compete with the UFC, but there might be a little bit more competition if they weren't letting themselves get locked in these long-term contracts. And the fans aren't helping when they have this discourse, which I think they kind of pick up from Dana White, this attitude towards fighters, like the UFC or bust, really, and looking down on fighters that leave or advocate for themselves. There's a common theme between the fighters that the UFC don't like, and the theme is they advocate for their careers. They're difficult to work with. That really is just translating to they want some agency over their career. Someone who's fighting this weekend, Aljamain Sterling. He's a really good example of someone that has made a good career out of fighting. He's done well for himself. He's found a balance, I think, between advocating for himself and playing the game. Because there is a part of you that has to play the game to stay in the game and to change the game. Because let's be real, fighters do not have any leverage. No matter who you are, pretty much, you're all disposable. There's a really good interview between Aljamain Sterling and Demetrius Johnson that I listened to, and they talk about just that thing. And Aljo is one of those fighters that didn't always have the best relationship with the UFC, and it's for that reason. My husband didn't have the best relationship with the UFC. It's for that reason. Tyron Woodley didn't have the best. All of these people who may haven't always been like the shining star of the UFC, it's because they all advocated for their careers. And newsflash to anyone who's not in the business, the second you say no to the UFC, you turn down a fight, you do this, you're in the doghouse. It's a known thing in the game. They love you when you say yes to everything. They love the young fighters who are game for whatever at their own detriment, take short notice fights, this and that. And you have to do that in the beginning of your career, I understand. But there is a time in your career when you can start being a little more choosy about your fights, making good decisions with when you're taking fights. You do have a life to live outside of fighting too. So, you know, for example, my husband had to turn down a fight once because it was on my due date. He didn't want to pull a Yuri. He wanted to be there for the birth of his child. And they will always remember that. So I thought that interview was interesting with Francis. I thought the interview with Aljo was interesting. He'll be fighting tonight. He is really someone that has had a very successful career, and I don't think he gets enough credit for not only his skill, but how he has navigated the business of fighting, because it is a business, and you are a business when you are a fighter, and you have to treat it that way. And too many fighters sell themselves short, so eager to be in the UFC, but you got to play your cards right for longevity in the sport to make enough money in the sport. The odds are already against you. So I think he's really someone that people could look up to for that reason. The next very interesting topic I thought this weekend, and I think it got a lot of buzz, was Dominick Cruz's interview with Brian Ortega. And I really enjoyed it. I've heard these things from a friend of mine, but like Dominick Cruz is very intelligent, obviously. He has some of my favorite quotes. He's just very introspective, I would say, very intelligent person and fighter. And one of the topics he brought up with Brian Ortega was the people you're taking counseling for throughout your career, how sometimes that can be detrimental to you when you take counseling from them for the rest of your life, you know, regarding personal relationships. And it was kind of discussing the topic of, do you have to like give it all up and have this like monk lifestyle where you're, you know, you cut off people. It's just, you can't have girlfriends, you can't do this and that. You got to just focus on fighting, kind of like a gladiator lifestyle. And it seemed to me like Dominick Cruz had this, maybe not regret, but a realization that maybe he could have had it all. He didn't have to give up those relationships during his career. It was just him taking advice from the wrong person. And then Brian Ortega went on and talked about, you know, this juicy gossip that everyone's interested in him and his relationship with Tracy Cortez. And what he said is true or not, I don't care. There's always three sides to a story, but it brings up a good point of the partner that you're with when you're trying to be successful in anything, but especially in fighting, because fighting is such an isolating thing. It requires everything of you. It requires a very selfish existence. It requires a partner that understands it and is selfless to a point, you know, because like I said, you only have a very short window and you have to be all in, and you have to have a team of people around you that are supportive of it. And if they're not, it'll drag you down. And from his description of his relationship with Tracy, it was dragging him down, too much drama. It was bad news altogether. And whatever the truth is remains to be seen. But for young fighters on the up and up, and anyone trying to be great in their life, they have to have a partner that understands it. They have to have a partner that is all in, because from my experience with my husband, we did have it all, in the sense of we have a good relationship. He was able to be successful. He does not have to go away from his family during camp. Everyone's different, but he doesn't have to go away from his family during camp. We don't get in his way. We support him. We're the grease to the wheels. You know, he does the heavy lifting, and we just give him the alley-oops, the layups, whatever he needs to assist him to be successful. And that is why we have worked. And I don't know if he would have been as successful without the help of everyone around him, obviously. And I think that goes for all fighters. You can have it all. You can enjoy a healthy relationship and be successful in fighting. You don't have to cut it all off. I do think it's hard for some people to do that, and especially when you find high levels of success like superstardom, that is when the relationships struggle a lot. It's not even the struggle, it's that, can a man handle the success? And if the man can handle success, and if the woman or the other partner, whoever's out of the spotlight, can handle the hard times and the uncertainty of that fighting brings, it is a recipe for everything you could ever want. So these are just some of my thoughts this week on more of the personal side of fighting, the newsworthy side, not the X's and O's. But if you have any topics you'd like me to discuss from a perspective of someone that has lived it in the industry, anything about the human side of fighting, I'm happy to talk about more. So everyone enjoy the fights tonight. I'm picking Aljo. I think he should win. But we will see you next week. Comment, subscribe, like the video, support me. Have a good night.